Netflix's new series, Adolescence, is attacking masculinity in the absolute worst way. Let's get straight into this.
It's a young boy who kills a young girl. I'm not doing any spoilers because we found out straight away. And as a collective, we didn't want it to be a whodunit. We wanted it to be more of a why he did it. Do you know what I mean? So what we kind of did was, I read an article in the paper. It was about a young boy who stabbed a young girl to death. And then there was a couple of months later on the news, there was a piece about a young boy who stabbed a young girl to death. And these were at opposite ends of the country. And I just, if I'm really honest with you, Jim, I just, you know, it hurt my heart. And I just think, what kind of a society we're living in at the moment where young boys are stabbing young girls? And you know that beautiful saying, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I just thought, what if we're all kind of accountable? You know, the education system, parenting, the community, the government. And also, when we were kids, we didn't have social media. So if we were in our rooms, when we were kids, we were either playing out in the streets, weren't we? Or we were in our rooms, like drawing pictures or playing keyboards or something. We didn't have the accessibility to all of this stuff in the world that really influences young minds. And I wanted to take a look at it. I'm not blaming anyone. I just thought maybe we're all accountable and we should, you know, have a conversation about it.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So I haven't seen this series. It's a 4-part series on Netflix. Basically, he explained it. I actually like this actor. He's from one of my favorite movies called Snatch. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but great actor. Cool thing about this series is it's shot in one continuous shot. But the crazy thing to me is that they really try to demonize everything red pill manosphere, and they even call out Andrew Tate by name in this series. They called him out by name. To go back on his point, I can't remember his name, but anyways, to go back on his point of everyone's a little bit accountable. There's a lot of men right now that have children that are present physically, but absent emotionally. I'll say it again. Present physically, absent emotionally. What I mean by that is there's a lot of men that go to work 9 to 5, they come home, and then what they do is they just consume TV, they play video games, they do something to get away from actually having to spend time with their family. Back in my day, when you got home, you spent time with the family. You sat down at the dinner table, you had a good meal. That's what you used to do. Nowadays, we don't do that anymore. And so there's a lot of men that have children that aren't actually being present fathers. That to me is one of the huge problems. Another huge problem is if you look at the percentage of teachers right now that are female, 76% of teachers are women, 23% of men. Overall, it's overwhelming. And this is in elementary school, primarily when boys are typically being boys at the height of it. 90% of all teachers are female. So this is an area where little girls are going to thrive. Little boys aren't going to thrive when it's all, you know, female estrogen-driven education. Middle school, it gets a little bit better, and even in high school, it's still dominated by women. So where boys are supposed to learn how to be boys is most of the time at school, around other boys. They spend other time with boys, but they're taught by women. And I'm not to say these women are biased in the way that they teach, but intrinsically, biologically, instinctually, they're going to lead with their feminine energy. That's just kind of how it is. Now, this is something that I found on Twitter that I thought was interesting as well. 43% of boys are raised by single mothers. That's already a pretty big percentage. 78% of teachers are female. So close to 50% of boys have 100% feminine influence at home, 80% feminine influence at school. Toxic masculinity isn't the problem. The lack of masculinity is. I completely agree with that. Once again, I think there's a lot of men right now that have boys that aren't teaching them how to be men. They're doing their own things. They're trying to be absent from emotionally being there for their kids. They're not teaching them things. And as we've seen from this study right here from fixedfamilycourts.com, fatherless activities are crazy. So instead of we've looked at this viewpoint from the viewpoint of, oh, well, women are doing the bad things here. Let's look into the account the men. Why are men not choosing to raise these children? Yes, women are going out of their way and having children with men that aren't willing to commit. But why do we have so many men that aren't willing to step up and actually be dads? And even some of the dads that are willing to be dads, they just go to work and they don't actually teach their sons anything. Like, dude, when I was a kid, we didn't have screens. We didn't have social media. I didn't start playing video games for real until I was like 12 years old. I'd already done a lot of the imaginative, the creative things I was supposed to do as a kid. By the time I was 12, I was ready to consume video games and play with my buddies and play with my friends. But when I was younger, I was being imaginative. Put a 1 in the chat if you've seen this, chat. You go to the grocery store, you go to the mall, you go out and about. You're seeing a parent push a kid in a stroller and they have an iPad. My whole ideology on this is that we're teaching kids to consume and not create. That is the problem. Kids are consuming and not creating. kids that young of age, they need a creative outlet to be able to go out there and use their imagination. We're robbing children of their imagination right now because we'd much rather them just consume so they're quiet and docile and submissive, as opposed to letting them speak up and be creative. Here's a clip from, I don't know this guy's name. Yeah, he must be a doctor or psychologist, but he paints this picture very eloquently.
We have a problem in this country with the behaviour of adolescent boys, then the absence of positive male role models in their life is the cause. It's not toxic influencers like Andrew Tate, who of course fill that vacuum. And you're right, I think something like 85% of boys brought up in single-parent households, the heads of those households are women, not men. Something like 75% of teachers overall, if you combine primary and secondary, are women. So boys don't get to see male teachers modelling kind of what is good, appropriate male behaviour either. And I think that's at the root of the problem, if there is a problem, not too much spending too long playing video games in your room at night.
Yes, so missing role models is what I think it is. Not enough men out there exhibiting the behavior they should be, showing boys what it's like to be an actual man. So this is what the actual writer said on the about the show, and he equates it to male rage.
What we're looking at really is male rage, and what we're trying to understand is how boys grow into toxic presences, how boys become people that are capable of violence.
What are you looking for? You're making a big mistake. He's only a kid.
Dad, I haven't done anything.
One could argue that we should be talking about it because male rage, is behind so many political developments that we're all having to deal with at the moment. I mean, male rage helped to get Trump elected in the United States. Stupid. Something that he would himself admit was a fact.
I don't know if that's the case.
We're not talking about it enough, do you think?
What makes this dangerous, all this stuff, the idea of the incel, is that incel-dom makes sense to people. And actually, once you look inside it, that thing of going, the reason why you're isolated is because of this, is a very, very compelling argument. There are some very, very dangerous, horrible things being said out there. And unless we start talking about how boys are being logically abused by these influences, we're going to be in trouble. I don't
think they're logically being abused. They're just trying to fill a void where they're absent of direction. You know what I mean? Like, boys aren't being led anymore because a lot of men aren't there. So I actually found a study that Michael Sartain talks about. I'll let him talk about it for a brief second, and then we'll kind of dive in to exactly what the study talks about.
I was actually I find it to be utterly ridiculous. So basically the idea is that the manosphere made these children violent or institute other children to become violent. There's been studies done on this. The studies were done specifically by William Costello and David Buss of the University of Texas at Austin. If you guys want to read the study, the question... Cool.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, Michael, for that alley-oop. We're going to read the study. So this is the key findings. I put in ChatGPT and just told me to kind of give me a rundown of what it was talking about. Typically with incels, they overestimate the importance of physical appearance and wealth, and they underestimate qualities like intelligence, kindness, humor, and loyalty. The big problem with that is women fall in love typically with who you are, not what you are, at least from my experience. I used to be broke and I could still get tail. So high rates of depression, anxiety, and loneliness. The thing I see with this is people think that this is supposed to be dangerous to other people. Actually, the biggest danger for these young men is the danger to themselves. It's not the danger to other people, it's the danger to themselves. Almost 19% of incels have a formal autism diagnosis, which is quite a bit. 0.62 globally, that's actually pretty crazy to me. An additional 25% almost show autism-related traits. Incels have a low sense of their own mate value. They make thinking errors about relationships leading to frustration. Their feelings of rejection fuel misogynistic attitudes. This is the one that I'm not a huge fan of because what data, what statistics, what study do you have that actually fuels this? If anything, it's mainly self-harm that you're looking at, depression, anxiety, loneliness, not things towards hating women. Where in any of this really says that they would hate women? Because relationships can also be interpersonal relationships with other boys, with other kids their age. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, could help correct negative thinking. Addressing self-esteem and social skills may improve their dating prospects. And supporting mental health could also reduce toxic beliefs in the community. This is what William Costello said. This research marks a crucial step forward in understanding the problems incels face and represent in society. Unsurprisingly, incels have a low sense of their own mate value. But interestingly, evidence shows that men are most inclined towards misogyny when they doubt their appeal to female partners and the unwanted celibacy, independent of incel identity, predicts misogyny. The misogyny pervading much of the incel community likely reflects their low sense of mate value. This means that helping incels improve their own mate value and mating prospects would have the added benefit of reducing harmful instances of misogyny. So that I can understand. This up here, this overview, maybe just wasn't as thorough as I wanted. So if you don't want any spoilers on the show, you probably shouldn't watch this part, because this actually breaks down what happens in the show. I'm still going to watch the show. I haven't seen it, just so you guys know. But this entire thing is crazy to me, and that's because navigating the dating scene can be absolutely brutal, but so can dealing with the aftermath of an accident. Have you ever been involved in a personal injury case? Over the years as an image consultant, I've worked with many clients recovering from workplace accidents, car accidents, and more. And I was actually shocked to learn how often people lose their personal injury cases. That's why I want to talk about Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. They specialize in a wide variety of personal injury cases, and they've won thousands of big cases. And if you end up working with them, they're going to fight for the money that you deserve. Just recently, Morgan & Morgan solidified verdicts in Florida of $12 million and $26 million in Philly. That's up to 40 times the highest insurance offer. And I'm telling you, your case could be worth millions. If you've been injured in an accident, don't wait. You can go visit www.forthepeople.com/Levi, found in the description below, to start your free claim today. Y'all know what time it is. Loki. Free. Seen some of you guys in the comments be like, let Loki be a dog. Let him just be a dog. Because I discipline him. What is a dog? In my opinion, a dog is obedient, but they're also loving. They have unconditional love. Obedience is the first, though. That's why we hired a canine dog trainer. So for a lot of you guys getting in the comments, and I know a lot of you guys love Loki because he is obedient, but some of the guys being in here talking about obedience is a bad thing, this is a perfect segue for this episode, because obedience is a part of the problem. We're missing out on masculinity right now. Men just think, oh, well, dogs should be able to do whatever they want. No. Dogs are dogs. They should be obedient. They should be helpmates. They should have unconditional love. It's just so funny to me that guys want to get in here, and I know it's guys and it's not girls, that respond to structure so poorly. That's a part of the problem in my opinion in today's society, is that people don't have structure. They don't have routine. You know what the highest form of self-love is? Put in the comments what you think right now. Put in the chat what you think right now. What's the highest form of self-love? In my opinion, it's discipline. Choosing to do the things that you don't always want to do because you know they're going to be better for you. Waking up in the morning, going to the gym, eating the right thing, getting enough steps a day, getting your hair cut, looking good, smelling good, being the best possible version of yourself intellectually, spiritually, physically, and mentally that you can be every single day. What's wrong with having a high standard like that? Maybe that's the problem, is we don't have enough men that are holding themselves to this standard. There's a guy that I found on TikTok here that we're going to get into this clip. He explains it very well. And I'm actually, for the most part of what I've seen of this clip, I actually completely agree with this guy.
The show Adolescence just reminds me that a lot of the issue with kids is because people don't parent their fucking children.
Facts.
People let the internet raise their kids and then they fucking get confused about what's going on. It's really as simple as just telling them to turn the fucking iPad off. Like my daughter, one of the things I have wrestled with is having her online with me because it's cute and family content. But then I realized I can't have her fall in love with this phone and the attention that it brings and the information that it gives as the rule of law. I need her to understand to be rooted in real life and then see the phone as just an extension of that, but also being able to recognize when that shit has gone off the rail. The problem I see as a young man is that we don't parent little boys. Nope. Again, I'm raising a little girl, and I can already see the other little girls around her who aren't being told no, who aren't being told how to regulate their emotions because their fucking parents don't know how. That's part of the problem. We have lots of adult children who don't know how to regulate emotions. They just know how to identify them. And because they are dysregulated, they don't know how to then do that for kids. The gentle parenting thing isn't how you tell a kid that there are consequences to their actions and you teach them how to take responsibility for them. It's not. It's quite literally perpetuated by everyone around. When people say boys are easy to raise, it's meaning they just don't think they deserve that much fucking attention.
Facts. No, preach to this young gentleman. Because he's exactly right. Because let's look at it. How many percentage of Americans that are overweight. Because I believe the first part of it is this. Nearly 75% of U.S. adults are either overweight or obese, with about 40% considered obese, according to recent data from the CDC. Bro, shit, I don't know if I can scroll down some. Nearly 1 in 3 adults. Anyways, this says nearly 75% up here at the top left. You can Google this yourself. Anyways, if you're telling me 75% of people are overweight, that just tells me that you're lazy. That just tells me that you're like we did an episode the other day talking about hyperthyroidism. I think it's about like 13% of all women. But what excuse do the men have? What excuses? If you're going to be lazy with your own weight, why would your kid listen to you? And I saw a psychologist talking about this the other day. Your kids don't learn how to treat other people by watching how you treat your spouse or your friends or other people. You know how they learn how to treat other people? Watching how you treat yourself. If you're not taking care of your body, if you're sitting around all day being a sloth, playing video games, watching TV, eating a bad diet, not exercising, not being disciplined, having no structure, that's what you're teaching your kids right now. So for a lot of the men that watch, if you are a single dad or if you are a dad, try to be in your kid's life as much as possible, dude. Try to be in their life as much as possible, because the more you're absent, the more likely this kid is going to fall down a path of destruction. And I was almost a statistic. I'm preaching from the pulpit of almost knowing. I was raised in a single mother household. My dad wasn't there. My dad was a degenerate, a druggie, abusive, and my parents got divorced when I was 11. It was me and my mom. When I was learning how to be a young man, I was being taught by a woman. I would go to school. I was around women. What did you expect? And then I started getting in trouble. What did you expect? That's what happens when there's fatherless activities going on right now. So that's what that young guy was talking about. I have another clip. So this is this is a woman reacting to it, and good Lord.
We need to talk about the show Adolescence that is trending on the internet right now, and more specifically men's response to this, because honestly, I am tired. And I think we're all tired. But the fact that an entire show was made beautifully, I think every single person on this planet should watch it, highlighting the problems in society that lead to a lot of the neglect of the children we're seeing, and specifically centering it on young men and young men's related issues, especially surrounding their mental health. And especially the way they managed to do it, in the way that this kid was still dangerous. He had still done really bad things, but you still found yourself empathizing with him at moments and feeling bad for him, right? This show truly had you understanding the problems that lead these boys down the red pill pipeline, and it really has you feeling the way that they feel as it's happening. This was their moment to talk about themselves and their mental health that they're always going around pretending that they care about so much more than anything women have to say. And their response to this show is to miss the point entirely and to take nothing from it and to flip it on women. To the point where I took the time to watch it, write down everything I think they accomplished beautifully, all the things that I think we should talk about. I made this almost 6 minutes.
Hey, never mind. I didn't watch the entire clip. Shout out to her, because I do think men should take some accountability on this one. We always talk about women taking accountability, but in my opinion, you want to be the leader of your household. You got to be the prime example of all the good behavior that you want. You want your family to be in better shape? You should be in better shape. You want your family to have more discipline? You should have the most discipline. You want to raise the standards of your family? You should have the absolute highest standards of anyone in your family. I understand this, and I try to exude and live all these principles and standards and discipline and show Cass that. When Cass isn't feeling good, she's sitting on the couch. Maybe Mother Nature's going her course. You know what I'm doing? I'm doing push-ups, pacing, because we can't go to the gym. She's cramping. She don't want to go to the gym. But what am I doing? I'm pacing at the house, make sure I'm getting my 10,000 steps. If we can't go to the gym, I got free weights here that are sitting right behind me. Boom. I use them every day that she can't go to the gym. And I'm doing push-ups. I got a pull-up bar. I'm doing bicep curls. I'm doing lat raises. I'm doing as much as I can to be physically active, because back in the day, us as men, we were hunter-gatherers. We were out persistence hunting for food. Nowadays, men just get to go to work and then come home and sit down and absolutely do nothing. So I think this is time for us as men to step up and say, you know what? We're not being as good as we could be. Women aren't the problem in all regards. It's not. I know I focus a lot of this channel on dating and what modern women are doing, but let's flip the script. Modern men, what are we doing right now? We want traditional women. Are we traditional men? We have to hold ourselves accountable, and we have to hold ourselves to the highest regard. We have to lead by example. A lot of men right now aren't leading by example. You guys go to work, you come home, you don't do anything with your kids, you play video games, you watch TV, you're lazy, your diet's bad, and then you're wondering why your family's in shambles. It's because you are. I understand that everything that happens to my family is my fault. I don't have the victim mentality on any of this. Well, it's the media's fault. Well, it's this, it's that. No, I have to lead by example. Good leaders lead by example. Chat, what did you guys think about this episode? Was I completely off base? Was I completely out of left field, or do you guys agree with me? But I think like the fatherless statistics alone, just looking at this, if you look at this and only blame the women, that's only 50% of the problem. The other part is I'm seeing these percentages and I'm saying 60% of this is men's fault, 90% of this is men's fault, 85% of this is men's fault, not 85% of this is women's fault. Now, women have their own duties when it comes to this. Ladies, you have a higher risk of getting pregnant by a man. A man can go get 10 women pregnant in one day, nice and easy. And I don't know if you'll have enough fluid in you to get that many women pregnant, but at the end of the day, a man could. Women control access to sex, men control access to relationships. Ladies, when you perform coitus with a man, you have the liability or you have the possibility of getting pregnant. So you got to be smart about that. But today we're talking about the men. And I believe that if we want to make a change, us as men have to hold other men accountable. So I think this Adolescence show is great. I'm going to go watch it. I think it's great. Let me know if you guys are going to watch it. Let me know if you think I'm way off base. I'm hitting the nail on the head. But we talk a lot about women, and I'm like, you know what? It's time to talk about men. It's time to hold each other accountable and say, you know what? We need to be better. We need to start raising these kids. We need to start being emotionally present and not just physically present. Not just present with our debit cards, but present with our hearts as well. And a lot of these boys will probably be raised up to be much better men. But Loki, did you enjoy today's episode? All the way on your place. Oh, never mind. You are. Sorry, my bad. That's my fault. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to cop the 2 ebooks, The 4 Pillars of Personality and The 4 Steps of Style that make you irresistible to women and respected by men. I will see you guys tomorrow, man. Peace.